Today we're going to explore the topic of ArNS and specifically how you can get ArNS details maybe to display within your application or depending on your use case. I'm just going to show you different ways of getting different ArNS details. So with no further ado, let's get in. The first thing you need to do here, you install, it's called at ar.io/SDK. That's the main RIO SDK, and that will install in the background, right? And so once it's done installing, you're going to just do import RIO, you import RIO. So here I'm in a Node.js environment, I can leave it that way. But if you're in a browser environment, you always make sure you do web, because there are some things that do not work in the web version if you do not specify that you are in a web environment. So if you're in the web environment, make sure you do that. But everything that I'm going to discuss works well in both environments. So first thing you do, you initiate the RIO instance. So you do rio.mainnet, right? So that you can use everything mainnet. You can also do testnet, by the way, if you're trying to just play around with the SDK and see what the RIO network has to offer. So next thing here you do is you do course results, and you can do top level await since you're in a Node.js environment. So you do rio.resolve, resolve RNS name. So now this function only resolve existing RNS name. And if you put in an RNS name that is not registered, it's going to throw an error that you need to, that RNS name is not found in the registry. So for example, if I do Marikim, this is registered, right? And I clear here, I run this. You should see details of this RNS name. Oh, I didn't log the results. That's why we didn't see anything. So we do console log result, run it again. And yeah, as you can see, all the details of my RNS name are here and everything, right? So you have the name itself, you have the owner, this is the wallet that owns that address, and the transaction ID. This is the transaction ID to the data that this name resolves to. And you have the process ID. This is the archive name token, right? That controls this RNS name here. And as you can see, the type is a perma-by. And I have an under name limit of 10, and you can increase the under name limit if you want. So let's say, for example, if I put in here like this, right? Merdi Kim, I'm sure that name is not registered. So you should see an error here. And you can do try catch to catch these errors and do things depending on the error. But yeah, that will all depend on you. So you can see that it's saying here base RNS name Merdi Kim with double M not found on RIO contract, right? So that's one way to see the details of an RNS name, by doing resolve RNS name. But the sort of downside of this is if the RNS name you're looking for is not registered, you will have an error in your code. And yeah, you can have different ways of handling that error. So the other way of getting to know the details of an RNS name is called get record. Get record. Now, what am I doing here? It's called get record, get RNS record. And you also pass in a name again. So here, if the name is not registered, you'll get undefined. If the name is registered, you'll get the details of the name, right? And I think this is the same function that is used on the RNS app to check if a name is registered or not. And I'm going to show you on the RNS app in a second so that you can see that. So if I clear here, I do again node index.js, you should see details here of my record, right? The process ID again is here, the type of by, and yeah, every other detail there. So now if I do again Merdi Kim, the name that is not registered, here you should see undefined in the console. So node index.js, you should be seeing undefined here, right? Nice. So those are the two different ways you can get an RNS name details. And so what I was explaining here is if you go to rns.app and you search a name, this is the function that gets used, that get RNS record. So if I'm searching, for example, for Marikim, yep, you should see not available. Just, yep. Yeah, Birdie Kim not available because that name has already been bought. That means this name returned result. But then if it returns undefined here, they're going to say name available. So if I do this, you should see name available. And yeah, and you should see loading price. But as you can see here, it's available and it's starting at this price, right? And so you can play around with these types of functions in your application if you're making use of RNS names. And I just wanted you to know how they work and yeah, how to use them and in which type of scenarios to use them.